it's too late. That's what runs through your mind as you lie in bed, old, tired, staring at the ceiling. You look back at your life and realize you never really lived your life. You checked boxes, you played the part, but you never truly showed up as yourself. But what haunts you most right now isn't what you did, it's what you never had the courage to do. And suddenly one brutal question rises. Why did I wait so long to ask myself the only question that really mattered? What do I actually want to leave behind? This video isn't here to judge you, it's here to wake you up, to help you face the question most people spend their entire lives avoiding. What will the world remember you for? So settle in. What comes next might just change your direction permanently. Part 1. The Silent Emergency. Living on Autopilot. Every morning, it's the same. You wake up, check your phone, scroll, reply, swipe. You move from one screen to another, one task to the next. You show up for work. You do what's expected. You come home, eat, maybe watch something, and then you close the day and repeat. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because, like 95% of people, you're running on autopilot. You're not choosing your life, you're just maintaining it. You're busy, constantly. But here's the unsettling truth. You might be busy doing things that don't actually matter. The illusion of urgency. We live in a world where urgency drowns out importance. Emails, urgent. Deadlines, urgent. Instagram stories, somehow urgent. But calling a sick parent? Taking a moment to ask yourself what you truly value, telling someone you love them, really love them, that gets pushed to tomorrow. And the scariest part, we don't even realize we're doing it. This avoidance is quiet, subtle. It's embedded in our routines. The routine that numbs you. You've probably heard this quote, "The greatest danger is not aiming too high and failing, but aiming too low and succeeding." But that's exactly what most people are doing. They chase security, comfort, approval. And one day they wake up and realize they've succeeded at building a life they never really wanted. You've checked the boxes. Stable job, steady income, a certain social image. But inside, emptiness. Because you never took the time to ask, what actually matters to me? The study that hits hard. Top 5 regrets of the dying. Bronnie Ware, a palliative care nurse, spent years sitting beside people on their deathbeds. She asked them all the same question. If you could go back and change anything about your life, what would it be? She heard the same things over and over again. Here are the top 5 regrets of the dying. I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself, not what others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish I'd expressed my feelings more. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I'd allowed myself to be happier. But the one that always came first, I wish I'd lived a life true to myself. Let that sink in, because deep down, you know, you feel it. There are moments where you're not fully you, where you're playing a role, living to avoid disappointing others, doing what's expected, not what sets your soul on fire. The real risk isn't failure, it's being forgettable. To be so careful, so reasonable, so normal, that your time on this earth leaves nothing behind. No trace, no message, no ripple. Just a life that looked fine on the outside, but didn't mean anything on the inside. The wake-up call, and why it's a gift. So stop here just for a moment. Look at your life. Not with guilt, not with shame, but with brutal honesty. If your life ended tomorrow, would you be at peace with what you created? Not with what you've owned, not with what you've achieved, but what you've given, what you've built, what you've left behind. If the answer is no, that's okay. In fact, it's a gift. Because if you're still breathing, you still have time to change everything. Drop a comment right now. I refuse to live on autopilot. Let it be your line in the sand. Let it be the moment you start choosing your life instead of just surviving it. And if you're still watching, hit subscribe, because here we don't do shallow motivation, we do deep transformation. Part 2. Remember, you're going to die, the wake-up call you're ignoring. Picture this. It's 2005, Stanford University. A crowd of young, bright-eyed students are about to graduate, and standing on that stage is Steve Jobs. But this isn't the invincible Steve Jobs of the early Apple years. This is a man who has stared cancer in the face, who has felt his body fail him, who knows deeply what it means to be mortal. And in one of the most iconic speeches of our time, he looks at the crowd and says with piercing clarity, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose." Let that sink in. It's not just a quote. It's a knife cutting through the noise, the fear, the illusion of permanence. The power of remembering you're going to die. Talking about death might feel heavy, dark, even depressing. But it's not. In fact, it's one of the most powerful ways to truly start living. Because when you realize that time is finite, when you really feel it, not just know it intellectually, you stop pretending you're invincible. You stop postponing things. You stop living on other people's terms. You stop playing small. Because once you understand you're not going to be here forever, you stop being afraid of things that don't matter. Why facing death brings life into focus. Terror management theory. This isn't just philosophy, it's science. Psychologist Ernest Becker explored this in what became the terror management theory. His idea? The awareness of death is terrifying, but it's also what drives us to live meaningfully. To cope with our mortality, we create, we build, we love, we try to leave something behind, something that outlives us. A company, a message, a family, a story, a change in someone else's life. Deep down, we all carry this question. How can I live in a way that outlasts me? Whether you realize it or not, this question shapes your choices every day. You don't just work, you're trying to matter. You're not just uploading a video, you're not just raising kids, writing emails, starting projects. You're building a legacy, piece by piece. You're reaching for significance. Even when you don't see it clearly, that's what you're doing. Because something inside you knows, I won't be here forever, but maybe what I create can be. This isn't morbid, it's liberating. Let's be clear, this isn't about fearing death. It's about letting death sharpen your focus. It's about recognizing that your energy, your time, your voice are not infinite, which means they're precious, which means they deserve to be used on what actually matters. Not on overthinking, not on fake goals, not on chasing approval from people you won't even remember in 20 years. Moment of pause. Ask yourself this. Let's try something. If you knew you had only 5 years left to live, not 1 week, not 1 day, but 5 years, what would you change? What would you stop pretending doesn't matter? Who would you spend more time with? What would you finally say out loud? What would you want people to remember about you? Seriously, take a breath. Don't skip this. Write it down somewhere. On your phone, in a notebook. It might feel weird, but it's exactly the kind of discomfort that wakes people up. Drop a comment right now. I choose to live like it's my last day. It's not about fear. It's about intention. It's about deciding that your time is too valuable to waste, and your words might be the spark someone else needs to start their own journey. Part 3. Finding your why. Legacy starts with meaning. Imagine this. You're in a freezing barrack in the middle of a concentration camp. You've lost your freedom, your dignity, your name. Your family is gone. The future erased. You have nothing left except your mind and a choice. This was the reality of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist, a thinker, and a survivor. In one of the darkest places on Earth, Frankl made a life-altering discovery. The people who held on, who still got up in the morning, who managed to smile, to hope, to live, they weren't the strongest. They weren't the smartest. They weren't even the most religious. They were the ones who had a why. The quote that echoed through history, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." That's not just a poetic line. It's a truth carved from human suffering. Because here's the reality. Meaning is stronger than pain. A purpose can carry you through storms that would break anyone else. When you know what you're living for, you stop running. You start building. So, what's your why? Not your job title, not your LinkedIn bio, not what impresses people. Your real why. The kind of why that makes you say, on your final day, I lived a life that mattered. I gave something of value. I stayed true to what really counted. Most people never ask that question. Or if they do, they brush it off because it's scary. Because it means changing things, choosing things. But you're here. You're listening. So let's go there. Your why isn't something you invent. It's something you uncover. It's already there, hidden beneath layers of expectations, fear, and daily distractions. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to remember who you already are deep down. The 3 pillars of personal meaning, according to Frankl and decades of psychological research. 1. Contribution. What am I giving to the world, even in small ways? You don't need to be Einstein or Oprah. Sometimes simply being a source of light in someone's darkness is more than enough. 2. Connection. Who am I building real, lasting relationships with? Meaning isn't found in isolation. It's found in presence, in love, in being there when it matters. 3. Response to suffering. What do I choose to do with my pain? Everyone suffers. Everyone loses something. But your pain doesn't have to define you. What you choose to do with it, that's where your legacy is born. Pain plus purpose equals transformation. Frankl never said, go find happiness. He said, find meaning, especially in the hard stuff. Because here's the truth. You will be knocked down. You will lose things. You will question everything. But if you have a why, those moments won't be the end of you. They'll become the turning point. What this means for your legacy. A meaningful life isn't a perfect life. It's a life where even the hardest chapters become part of a deeper, more powerful story. That's what legacy really is. Not perfection, not fame, but a life that actually says something. A life that meant something. And it all starts with one quiet decision: to stop living without intention. Quick exercise. Do this now. Take a notebook or your notes app and answer these 3 questions honestly. What do I want to pass on? To my family, to my friends, to my community, to the world? Why do I get up in the morning when I'm not lying to myself? What pain have I turned, or am I ready to turn, into power? You might not have all the answers yet. You might write 1 word, or cry a little, or feel stuck. That's okay. Because this search, this uncomfortable, messy, beautiful search, is exactly where your legacy begins. Comment below, I'm searching for my why, and I refuse to live without intention. Your comment might help someone else pause and reflect on their own why. And that's already a legacy in motion. Part 4. The Obituary Exercise, the most honest mirror you'll ever face. Picture this. You're not in your home. You're not at work. You're in a quiet room filled with people who once knew you. Some are crying. Some are smiling. All of them are here for you. But you're not here anymore. Someone walks to the front. They open a piece of paper, and they begin to read. It's your eulogy. Not a cliche, not a polished list of career highlights. No, it's the story of your life. What people remember, what you stood for, what you left behind. A harsh, uncomfortable realization, but a necessary one. Want to know what you've really built in this life? Imagine what would be said about you when you're no longer around to explain, excuse, or fix it. Because one day that moment will come, and there'll be no more likes, no more comments, no more "I'll get to it later." Just who you were, what you did, and what remains. So ask yourself right now, would you be proud of the story people would tell? Or would it terrify you? This exercise will make you uncomfortable. Good. Writing your own eulogy isn't poetic. It's not about being dramatic. It's about being brutally honest with yourself. If I died tomorrow, what would truly remain of me? Most people don't want to ask that. They'll close this video, scroll past, distract themselves. But if you're still here, it means you're ready. How to do the exercise, step by step. Grab a notebook or open a blank document. Now imagine this. You have 24 hours left to live, and you're given one final task. Write what you'd want people to say about you. Not what would make you look good, not what you hope people will guess, but what you genuinely hope will be true. The 5 questions you must answer. Take a deep breath and answer each one. No filters, no fluff. What values did I truly live by? Not what I claimed to believe, but what I showed through my actions. What did I pass on to others? To my family, my friends, even strangers? What energy, ideas, or behaviors did I leave behind? Who did I inspire and how? Was it through courage, consistency, kindness, vulnerability? What battles did I choose to fight? Not whether I won, but what I dared to stand for. What still exists because of me? A habit, a mindset, a relationship, a piece of art, a way of loving, a way of being. Write it like it matters, because it does. This isn't just a writing prompt, it's a reckoning. This is self-honesty in its rawest form. It's the moment you realize, maybe for the first time, that every day, every action, every yes or no is shaping either a life of impact or a life of comfort. And most of the time, those two paths don't walk hand in hand. Warning, this exercise is useless unless you do something with it. Writing your obituary doesn't predict your death. It reclaims your life. Because what you want to be remembered for tomorrow, you need to start living today. Drop a comment right now. I'm writing my obituary today. Say it, own it, even if it's messy, even if it hurts. This is a turning point, not just a reflection, a ritual. And you're not alone. There are thousands of us waking up right now, just like you. The result? Clarity. If you do this truthfully, something shifts. Things become clear. You start to see what needs to go. You know what needs to begin. And more than anything, you finally understand why it all matters. That kind of clarity, it's worth more than any book, any podcast, any motivational speech. Because now, you're not just inspired, you're anchored. Part 5. 3 levers to build a legacy that lasts. Define your non-negotiable values. What truly matters to you? Not what you say on a podcast, not what's written in your bio, what you're actually willing to sacrifice for. Take 10 minutes today. Write down 3 values you'd be willing to lose a job for, a promotion, even a relationship. That's how you know they're real. For example, integrity, choosing truth over convenience. Legacy, investing in others, not just yourself. Courage, doing what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. These values aren't meant to decorate your Instagram. They're meant to guide your decisions, especially the hard ones. Because at the end of your life, no one will care how on brand you were. They'll remember what you stood for and what you refused to betray. Part 2. The monthly impact audit. Forget New Year's resolutions. Try this instead. At the end of each month, ask yourself 3 powerful questions. What did I do this month that created lasting impact? Who did I genuinely help or serve without expecting something in return? Are my actions aligned with the legacy I want to leave behind? That's it, just 15 minutes a month. But over time, your whole life shifts course. You stop measuring success in likes and start measuring it in alignment. Part 3. Choose impact over image. Let's be honest, we all want to look good, smart, successful, like we've got it all figured out. But here's the brutal truth. Image fades, impact lasts. Your aesthetic doesn't matter in the end. What people felt because of you, that's what stays. And as Maya Angelou said so beautifully, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So stop trying to be impressive. Start being rememberable, not for your style, but for your presence, your honesty, your empathy, your ability to make people feel seen and stronger. That's what lives on. Part 6. Powerful legacy examples. Take Warren Buffett, for example. He's given away 99% of his fortune, not to win popularity contests, but to leave the world a better place. Then there's Steve Jobs, a man who reshaped entire industries. But beyond the tech and innovation, he left us with a powerful reminder. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Keep that fire alive. Stay curious, never settle. And what about you? You don't need billions to change a life. Sometimes one honest word, one sincere action, one brave choice, that's enough. Conclusion. What will they remember about you? So here we are, back to the big question. What do you want people to say about you when you're gone? You don't have to change everything overnight, but you can start with one thing. Begin living more like the person you want to be remembered as. Be intentional, be aligned, be courageous. Because sooner or later, that moment will come. And when it does, what's left behind is your legacy. You just went through an exercise that 99% of people won't ever do. You looked yourself in the eye. You dared to ask the tough questions. And for that alone, major respect. But don't let this moment of clarity fade away in a closed tab. Do something with it right now. Subscribe if you want every video to be a reminder to stay aligned with who you truly want to become. Not just more content, but a consistent guide, a boost, a mirror. Share this video with one person you care about. Not everyone, just one. Someone who deserves to wake up too. You might be the spark they need. Like this video if it challenged you. One simple click that tells the algorithm this content deserves to be seen. Comment right now, here's what I want people to say about me. Or just, I'm on my way. I read every comment, every word, every interaction. Every interaction builds one more brick in the message we're creating here together.